I think the Bills are going to destroy the New York Jets based on their performance in London. They're coming back off a game in another country, and the Bills have to be, not just licking their wounds, but licking their chops, thinking we need to get back on the right track. And here's a division game where they can separate themselves from the rest of the pack. None of the other teams look like they're very good this year, including the Dolphins. Patriots are terrible. And the Jets are in complete disarray and now have an interim coach. But in the last 14 years, I guess would be, Lubie, since 2010, teams that have an interim head coach come in are 15-12 straight up and 16-11 against the spread.
Oh, well, we know. They get the bounce. What do you mean? Dan Campbell, and now he's a good coach with the Lions, even though I really feel like that's his defensive coordinator more than him. But he was a god for like the first 2 or 3 games here. People were like, the Oklahoma drill. There's nothing wrong with decapitating players. That's a great idea in 2015.
Didn't he have him doing tug of wars and things like that? I thought he was running the Superstars competition. I was waiting for Joe Frazier to get thrown into a swimming pool and jump to the bottom. You're thinking maybe Bruce Jenner comes back as Caitlyn Jenner and competes in the thing. You have her throwing the discus or whatever.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show here. A little bit of a late start. This is the way of the world now. I had a ton of technical difficulties with the program I was trying to do yesterday. Oh, my God. Well, it wasn't really anything on the end of the guy that was producing the show. Certainly my stuff was coming through, but we were trying to do an interview with John Feinstein, the great John Feinstein, for this new show I'm doing. And he doesn't have Google Chrome.
I'm on a Mac. Like, who doesn't use Google? Like, I'm on a Mac, which is known to not use Google Chrome, and I'm using Google Chrome. Like, who doesn't use Google Chrome now? Like, I don't.
He couldn't open it up originally, so it couldn't be any nicer of a guy. But we're sitting there at the scheduled time, and I'm ready to fire. I actually wrote some notes I was going to use to try and keep this thing organized and not just be all over the map there. But with Feinstein, look, you throw a question out there, he's going to answer in a brilliant fashion. It couldn't be any more well-suited for a show called Conversations.
Yep.
And then he tries to open that up. He can't do that. Then we sent him another link that kind of circumvents the whole Google Chrome problem. That didn't work. We ended up loading up on the No Filter platform, which, as you know, is a little bit of a fiasco. And we were able to get Feinstein, but he looked like he was in some London fog.
God.
Oh, that was just the way the shot looked. It wasn't him. He was fine. So we tried that. And then as soon as we got into the show, I fired off the first question, a brilliant introduction to a season on the brink. And as he starts to answer, he freezes up like you do with your lousy internet problem. And we're like, okay, Scrub City. That was it. And it's always something. And now this new thing, I don't know what it is, Lubie, but it seems like something that should be standard where I just click on the same thing every day always gets fucked up. And then you have to go through various gyrations and machinations. And finally we get on the show here. So good to be with you. I don't want to waste any more time. I hate talking about technical issues, but it's just funny, this new mode of broadcasting, because you're talking to two guys. And we used to reference this all the time. We led the league in blown remotes back in the day. Led the league.
Yes.
First, you had the issues with what was known as the ISDN phone lines, which was a special hard line that was wired in that was guaranteed you to get in the broadcasting business just perfect clarity. It was kind of a business line, I guess, more so than it was, but it was also used frequently in broadcasting. And remember when whatever phone company was operating in the particular area, they wanted to get rid of these things because they hated them. So they made the cost so prohibitive that it was impossible. You would say, well, what's it going to cost us to install this thing? You're going to do a remote at some gas station somewhere, and the guy's got a little sandwich shop he wants to promote. Salesperson went out there and said, oh, yeah, we'll have DeForest and Lubie come out here, and this will be great. And then they find out it's like $1,200 to install the phone line for one show, and then you have to pay like $500 an hour to use it. How long is the show? It's 4 hours. You're at $3,200 before we even paid a fee. So eventually, modern technology took over, and they were able to do it on a wireless basis. And I was reluctant to make the change because I was thinking, this is never going to work. And then those machines and that equipment had its frequent problems also, where you couldn't get no Wi-Fi, and you're dealing with that all the time when you go to these restaurants on the Mayo Show.
It's something.
So anybody that thinks there isn't a certain amount of attention and neurosis that goes along with this business, never mind management. That we haven't even gotten into that. We're just talking about trying to get the thing off the ground. But this, for the most part, has been fairly simple. I don't know where we're having so many problems of late. But anyway, welcome to the show. Good to be with you guys. We've talked about this many times, and you heard the clip there, which I'm glad you introduced again because this was the game of my lifetime.
After all we talked about the game, then that's the game that came out.
I got to do the old Mexican derisive whistle that we used to hear at the Olympic Auditorium. Which essentially means, I don't know, a more polite way. I ask a guy, hey, what does that whistle mean? And it essentially means do something that is very explicitly sexual to your mother. Rhymes with duck. Isn't that a nice way of doing it, though? I mean, if you're going to say, hey, fuck your mother. I don't really, I mean, it hurts to even say it. It's like, kind of grotesque to even think about that being. Is. I mean, it was a big rank out in the day back in Brooklyn. You would say, hey, fuck your mother. And then the guy would come out, 6 guys would jump you and say, don't talk about that guy's mother like that. They didn't care that you were ready to kick the shit out of each other. Just you don't want to insult the guy's mother. That was the thing in Brooklyn. That was one thing that was taboo. It was kind of like talking about gambling on the air for many years. Now that everything is brought to you by FanDuel and DraftKings and all of it. How many gambling entities are there, by the way?
Oh, good.
I mean, we're doing Bet Online on the Bury Your Bookie show, and we were doing that when we were doing morning briefing.
Yep.
And they're readily involved in everything. Then there's what? MGM, there's this, there's that. There's like river casinos, like 8 zillion ways to lose your money. And the Hard Rock app, I guess, is exclusive to Florida. Why wouldn't Hard Rock, though? I understand that the legalities of this are
state lines. Like each state has different rules. Like it's why we need federal. We need it to be a federal law. It'll make it a lot easier.
Why not? Yeah, just open it up. I mean, and the government should just be cashing on this. No, we wouldn't have to pay any taxes anymore. It'd be all over. Sell marijuana and let people gamble their brains out. The 2 things I've been doing since I was a kid.
Exactly.
You wouldn't need these debates between the Trumpster, who, by the way, has gone like full-blown Nazi. Even to the point now, are you seeing this picture that's circulating? I mean, this could happen to anybody. They could have done it to Kamala also, but
yeah, you can Photoshop it.
It just seemed appropriate where now you have boats. This is the big thing. These flotillas with Trump.
Yeah. These, Nazi shit.
they got like Nazi flags on them. With a big Trump banner.
With the Trumps. What do you mean? Laura Trump was on one of the boats. They're not even hiding it. Why, did you see last night? It was literally with the gnome woman who literally is a sycophant. It's one of his spokespeople. And halfway through the town hall in some little rinky-dink building in Pennsylvania, halfway through, he's like, let's just play music. No more questions. Who wants to hear questions? And he stood there listening to music for 30 minutes as people left. And that's all he did.
What a lunatic this guy has become. I mean, he is so unhinged.
Get the fuck out of here. Like
the makeup's getting more and more bizarre. I mean, he's starting to look like Boy George, isn't he?
Yeah, yes.
I don't mean to insult Boy George like that.
Exactly.
And this is a guy that's in a razor-thin marginal race to win the presidency after he already was president. And we saw what happened there. I mean, he butchered the Supreme Court. He put this whole thing in motion with why are we having a vote on Amendment 4? Which, by the way, the commercials that are saying to vote no on Amendment 4 are bizarre, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Same thing with the marijuana. Now they have a new one against Amendment 3, which is the marijuana thing, legalized marijuana. And that whole Fugazi thing about getting a medical marijuana card. I mean, I'm watching the people march into the medical marijuana dispensary, which they're great in there. It couldn't be a better place to buy drugs. You roll in there, they couldn't treat you any more nicely. They have everything. They give you discounts. It's like, hey, you know what? You got 1,000 points here. Here's a pound of weed. Great.
Well, the prices are great too. Like the last time I bought weed, like half eighth was like $25. They're giving you like quarters for like 60.
And then you got bonus stuff. Here's like 2,000 gummies. You get these this thing here, this little spray thing that you can put in. Like,
I want my cousin, because down here I wasn't sure if I was allowed. I don't have the medical thing, and he's like, "What do you feel like today?"
I feel like shit. So how can you help me?
like, okay.
No, but I mean, now Mustang has a medical marijuana card, so she has to go in. So I
Yeah.
drive her up there. She doesn't like to drive much, and so I drive her up there, and it's not that far away, but the one that we go to, and then we keep going back there, even though there may be ones in closer proximity, but we're just very satisfied with the service we
Yeah.
get at this place. And then once you establish an account there, well, almost are like getting airline miles or whatever. You're able to, get all kinds of different discounts. And I just sit out there. I'm amazed at the people that are rolling in there.
In and out business people in like Maserati. Oh no, it's
80-year-old ladies are walking in. It's incredible to watch this. So why not? I mean, just get rid of this facade that there's something wrong with it.
no. What do you mean?
And
Harris is openly saying, let's make it legal and because it's a burgeoning industry. Like it's huge, but they want to keep it under wraps because they want only, again, it's like every other industry. They want the rich people to get to it first and fuck it up and bastardize it, and then they'll magically make it free. Like that's how it always is. It's if they look at EVs, suddenly EVs are everywhere. Suddenly EVs outside of Trump, who has no idea how they work, suddenly they're everywhere. Why now? Yeah, because Toyota and Honda and Nissan figured out, oh fuck, it's time for us to switch over. So now it's okay for EVs. It's like look, the whole thing's a racket. The medical thing's funny. Like you have to pay to get the card. Then I didn't realize this.
And you have to have certain
every
qualifications, which are bizarre.
Oh, it's bullshit.
Like have nothing to do with anything. You need like a note from a psychiatrist that you're fucked up.
You can go to any doctor, but there's plenty of doctors now that specialize in it, and they don't care too. That's the other thing. So it's like, okay, so it's just another way of funding the healthcare system that's already a disaster. Like,
so you can let Rick Scott rape it.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
While he runs again for senator. I hope that guy goes down. I'm afraid that this state is too stupid not to get rid of this guy. But I haven't seen any recent polls on the
it's tied.
Mukersell Powell. Oh yeah, dead heat.
Yeah, it's tied, and the village
because nobody knows who this Mukersell Powell is. Really, I know she was a politician locally here from South Florida, but this Rick Scott, I just automatically assume that anybody that is Republican is going to win the state of Florida. Which is why it's so weird that Pennsylvania is so tight and such a critical swing state, which may swing the entire election, according to a lot of people. But I mean, they have a Democratic senator, they have a Democratic governor. Seems to be very liberal. The Shapiro guy. Yeah, the more I see of him, the more impressed I am by this guy. Yeah, I mean, he's almost like the white Obama, in terms of the way that he communicates. It's fantastic, right? He makes you feel like he's talking to you like a human being, not like some asshole that's up there with a microphone doing a little dance and this whole thing. And it's like, what is that, Donald? What is that? I'm going to get too off on that, although, you can't help yourself.
It's hard not to. I mean, last night was like, because look, and I get it. You watch the mainstream media. My buddy swears he's not. He's cultivated a group of people that he believes. I'm like, dude, everything they're telling you is what the mainstream media is saying. And again, I've always, because we do this, I've always hated when people blame the media. But if you watch what's happening and then you listen to what they're saying, whether it's CNN or NBC or all of them now, even it's like, what are they covering? They're like analyzing every word she says while he's dancing on a stage for 30 fucking minutes. She just did 7 interviews in like a day and a half and flubbed 4 words. Oh my God, she can't say words. He's literally humming Anagata Davida while people leave a room. Like, come on.
It's unreal, yeah.
Like, get the fuck out. It's hard for me, as dumb as America.
It's baffling. It really is.
I don't think America's. I actually am more faith in this country than I've had in fucking years. Because there's no way more than the 40%. Yes, you'll get your 40% just because people are so hateful that they have to vote for him. Okay, fine. But that's not 60. There's no way people are looking at that fucking disaster and are like, yeah. And Vance, yes, he's calm, cool, and collected. He won't answer one goddamn question.
Oh no, he's a sicko. He's the kind of guy that he's like Niedermeyer in Animal House. I mean, one of those guys that you just look at and you immediately despise.
Yes.
It's absolutely the strangest thing I've ever seen. I remember what we were just talking about what a fog we were in when we had to do 4 hours of radio and start at like 5 a.m. And I remember getting out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, going, "Fuck, I got to do this again." and what we've always said is, and a lot of people think, okay, this is a piece of cake. Anybody could do this. I could get on the air and talk sports, and possibly that's true, and you may be able to do it in a much more articulate, entertaining, and interesting way than Lubie or I could do. But The problem is everybody seems to be able to do like maybe one show, and then you got to come back and do it again tomorrow, and then you have to do it every day.
Yep.
And you start thinking about doing this like 20 hours a week. Now, Luby, you did the math on this, as I was saying. How did we ever do like 4 hours of this shit starting at 6 in the morning? And you said, well, by the time you took out the commercial breaks and all the other shit that was in there, we were maybe doing 2 hours of actual content, which still, I mean, if you were just talking about straight through, no breaks, 2 hours, it's not that easy to do it every day. A lot of people could do it once and sound good. I don't know that they could do it every day, but I do remember coming out of a fog one morning and suggesting to you, I said, "Hey, you know what, Luby? You got to dig up this little segment out of the movie Bananas." You're like,
Oh,
Bananas? What the fuck are you talking about?
you were such a
And it was after a Trump speech.
yeah.
So this goes back. I mean, we've been playing this clip for now 8-9 years.
No, it's before 16 because when he first came out and no one took him seriously, our young Chris was like, "You're getting great odds on him," and it's like he has no shot. But if somehow he gets through the slog that is the Republicans, why can't he? When people hate Hillary,
Yeah.
and they don't know, and they don't really know, like,
And it was unlikely, especially then, that, I mean, she had two things going against her. A, everybody hated her, and B, she was a woman.
yep,
And people in America just, I mean, when you go to the certain areas, I mean, these, states that have been red forever, they're not inclined to elect a woman to be president, although you see more women in important political positions, governors and senators and things like that. But I think America at that time, just, it wouldn't have mattered who it was. I don't know that America was going to elect a woman. In spite of the fact that Hillary Clinton was running against an absolute nutbag. But I mean, how far in advance of things was Woody Allen? As much as his behavior in other areas certainly would give rise to question whether you should
oh no,
be paying homage to this cat. But wow, was he on the money with that Bananas movie? And that was a movie that came out in the 70s.
70s. I was like 70s, but it was literally, and
It's even more. I mean, on target now, is it not?
100%.
That whole thing, unbelievable. All right, so getting back to the game, we've talked about this many times, Luby, and it's worse having your reputation on the line than it is having money on the line. Money is a perishable commodity. You can come back the next week, double up your bet. Eventually, you're probably going to hit something, right?
Yeah.
For example, the professor has been ice cold the last couple of weeks
Yeah,
with
I've
the
left
picks that
him
he's
alone.
made on our show. Ice cold. Is he okay? I saw him on Sunday.
I don't know. The Kansas, look, and I was going to actually put money
Oh,
on
what
it.
a tough beat that was, lose by a hook.
I told him, like, when it gets down to 3, I think I'm going to put money on it. He's like, don't worry about the 3. And I'm like, I just don't. Kansas State hasn't been playing. It's not Colorado. I don't care about them. But Kansas State hasn't been playing the way we thought they were going to be playing. And lo and behold, that game was way closer than it should have been.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. And yeah, they ended up taking a lead. I mean, Kansas State had to come back to win that ball game by 3. That was a big bet for the professor. And then he got wiped out on the rest of his bets on the card. But that's going to happen. And the reason I bring this up is not, I mean, I love the guy. I think he's a brilliant
He's
college
fantastic.
football and basketball handicapper. And I would have faith in him no matter what. But unfortunately, the last 7 picks he's given us have all gone up in smoke. But in this case, you have faith that he's going to come back and
Oh,
hit
yeah.
something. And if you were betting sort of in gradual exponents or whatever, where, okay, yeah, maybe it depends if your bankroll is going to run out, but you probably could hammer one of his future picks and get all your money back if you had the bankroll to be able
Yeah.
to sustain these losses. A lot of people, unfortunately, they're digging themselves out of a shallow grave by the time they've lost 3 in a row. So, but yeah, I mean, this is something that you can absolutely count on. You know that eventually you're going to hit something, and this, so you'll get your money back if you're losing. Not always. I mean, I'm a lifetime loser. I'm sure most of you guys are in betting sports and betting horses. As we say, I don't want to see the number. I really don't want to know. My mother used to kind of give me a little bit of the name. Well, you would be fine if you didn't gamble. Hey, Ma, why are you emphasizing that word so heavily? I mean, how about the matzo ball soup? What do you think of that? Can we talk about something else? besides my gambling problem. It's not a problem if you can handle it, right?
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, eventually you're going to come back to the pack. You're feeling that way. But when your reputation is at stake, that I think in this game, it's you don't want to be known necessarily as a lifetime loser. I mean, it just hurts. So, when you have some element of certainty and you're pretty convinced that you're going to win this game, I didn't see any way that the Jets were going to beat the Buffalo Bills. In spite of the Bills' recent sloppy play, they had lost 2 in a row. They hadn't really looked too good. They had shown signs of brilliance that they were able to overcome. We thought it was addition by subtraction, didn't we? That Stephon Diggs, as talented as he is, he was always a source of acrimony, and it seemed like he was causing turmoil. And he was always pissed off. One of those Keyshawn Johnson, just give me the damn ball type of receivers.
Yep.
Well, which is fine. I mean, look, everybody has a different approach. Some guys in this business are huge egomaniacs. They think their shit doesn't stink, even though you're listening to their show and you're saying, hey, you know what? Your shit stinks. You've seen guys like that do a perfectly awful show, and they're so confident, though, that, I mean, they're unaware of it.
100%.
Could be Mike. I mean, I leave every show thinking, Jesus, that sucked. I mean, I'm going to have to. That's why I loved Kui from Kaizen. I love that whole concept. Like constantly, doesn't matter. It's 73 years old plus. Constantly strive to improve. You always have to try and pick up your game.
Yep.
So I didn't want to blow this game. I don't want to be wrong about it because I was talking about it for a week, and then look what happened. So we talk about the worst sound that you could possibly hear. And I know Andy can relate to this because he's been seeing a lot of doctors. I was just talking to my good friend Frank Fiore. He was going through some medical stuff. And what is the worst sound that you could hear when you're in a doctor's office? The snapping on of a rubber glove.
Ugh.
You hear that, and you're like,
Nice.
what are you about to do to me? It's almost like being Dustin Hoffman in Marathon Man, where here comes the dental guy. And you're in the chair, and guess what? You're under restraint, and there's not much you can do. And that's the same thing when you have your reputation on the line and giving out some kind of a selection, and you hear that doink of the goalposts. And that was the case last night. I mean, this was a game that was decided by missed field goals. The Jets, and look, Bass, I don't trust this guy, the Buffalo kicker, at all. Do you? Have you seen this guy? I don't know what his actual statistics are. Every time I see him, he's missing a kick.
No, Jesus.
So, and the announcers kept alluding to the idea that, or the fact, I guess, that it was very windy at the, what do they call it, MetLife Stadium?
Yeah.
Meadowlands last night. And so, that was causing problems. I mean, these guys were missing routine field goals. Greg Zuerlein used to be dynamite, wasn't he?
He was called the leg. Yeah.
Was he with the Chargers? When he was great, or the Rams, yeah. He was with an LA team.
Yeah, the Rams or the Chargers. I feel like he was great with them. Yeah,
this guy would come out from 62, and you'd be pretty confident that he was going to not just drill it right through, but like with style points.
Yeah,
he's going to go through into the stands there. Some little kid was going to catch it. Was going to go over the net, and it was 3 points on the board with surety.
I got him.
Now he missed that field goal in the Denver game at the end of the game that cost the Jets a game. And he doinks 2 off the goalpost, which you hear that doink. If you were a Jet fan, my God, I mean, is that just a hideous sound? As bad as you would have like Joey Kornblit in a playoff point at Dania Highlight or Miami when he was at Miami. And you're thinking, wow, I couldn't be in better shape. I got the best player in the world, a guy that redefined the game, that reshaped the game, revolutionized the game, but with his kill shots. And he's got the ball. He's got the pelota in his cesta. He's 2 feet from the fucking wall. And then you hear that clank. Because they had that red metal, which was kind of the line that marked, whether or not the ball was high enough on the wall to qualify as a good shot. And when you heard that clank, man, it was like, I mean, it was just like shoving a pole right up your ass. And the same thing happened with these 2 field goal tries. Although Bass also consequently left 4 points off the board there as he missed an extra point and a somewhat chip shot field goal. So that more or less evened itself out. And yet, if you're a Jets fan this year and you're looking at Zuerlein blowing that kick at the end of the game, which was a very makeable field goal, he just missed it off to the right in the Denver game, and then doinking 2 off the goalposts. If not for that, Lubie, think about this. They're 4-2 and atop the division. in spite of the fact that last night was the first time Aaron Rodgers actually
Yeah,
looked
they
good
actually
throughout
look
an
decent.
entire ballgame.
Yeah, they look decent.
Okay, now the other side of that is 7 of their points, of their 20 points in the game, came on a Hail Mary at halftime, which was now, I think that was the fourth Hail Mary completion by Aaron Rodgers. How is it? I don't know that he's that great at that. A lot of guys throw the ball 60 yards into the end zone and are able to just hoist it up there. But might be one of the luckier players that we've seen in the history of the National Football League to have 4 Hail Mary completions. Holy Cordell Stewart! I mean, that's unbelievable. So the Jets are in this game largely because of luck, and then complete disastrous, catastrophic bad luck does them in. So the Bills end up prevailing. I think the point spread tightened up as in my personal booking episodes. I ended up with the Jets given to me by my buddy Francesco, only getting 2 points in the game. That game started out at 2 and a hook. And I thought that was a ridiculously low line, but apparently the odds makers, obviously, as we say, why isn't Louis the Lip running for president? The economy would not be, it would be a piece of cake. Everybody would be prospering and there'd be, a car in every garage and a chicken in every pot. Is that how that went? Was it a car in every garage and a chicken in every pot, or 2 cars in every garage, chicken in every pot? Who was that? Roosevelt? One of the Roosevelts.
And it
Franklin
wasn't
Delano?
I think it was one
FDR?
car. I think one
Who
car.
came up with that?
I don't know. I
Chicken in every pot, a car in every garage,
way before my time.
whatever the fuck that is. You get the picture, though. We lucked out last night. That's what I'm trying to say. It took me a half hour to say it, that we lucked out last night, covered with the Buffalo Bills. And the Bills now atop the AMC Eastern Division, which the Dolphins will dive back into competition this week. 3.5-point underdogs to the Indianapolis Colts. Our good friend Charlie Partridge. Is he offensive line coach with
He's
the
D-line.
Colts?
D-line.
Or D-line?
He's one of the great D-line coaches. I mean, his Pitt's playing well without him, but he was always, every year, that was the one position group you can count on.
Yeah, he put a lot of guys into the pros. Charlie, who used to be at FAU, used to come on our show all the time, and it was always a delight to have on the program because he was one of the. There weren't that many coaches that you could kind of goof around with, and he was great like that. And there weren't that many coaches that were active that would go ahead and let you know how they felt about certain other people in the business. Mm-hmm. Most specifically, we would just say Nick. And he would go off on Nick Saban without actually specifying that he was saying that this guy was, in his opinion, what would you say? Insufferable Nick Saban?
Jackass.
I think it fits him. Yeah. Asshole. I don't know. Is he an asshole? I mean, how does people like this guy as an announcer? I don't mind him at all. I don't know that he really gets into enough intimate detail about what's going on to make you think that he's that much different than anybody else that does it. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about Nick Saban on the game day performances?
I don't watch a lot of it because, again,
I like game day as a show. I mean, what I like is the enthusiasm of the
I used to love
kids.
game day, but then when Corso started to turn into Trump, it made me
he's
sad.
a shot fighter, yeah.
So, but they would still trot him out there. So it just, and now I hate Herb Street because of all the FSU bullshit. And I've never been a big fan of Desmond Howard. It's not like he ever has anything.
Howard doesn't seem to say anything of any great significance.
So like and it's funny, we had McAfee on Radio Row and I liked him then, but the very popular McAfee with no sleeve, I don't know. McAfee I can't really watch him try and be an actual analyst. So I don't really watch that at all. Sarni's always trying to get me to watch pregame.
Sarni loves his show. I mean, if he had to name a favorite show, I think it would be ESPN College Game Day.
I used to watch it religiously, and it's for a long time now. It's just hard for me to get behind. I just
like the thousands of people in the background in the dark when they're on the West Coast. I think that's kind of cool. And then I'm curious to see, much like with Tom Brady. I mean, Brady was a little more active in his color analysis. I was watching some clips of that game that he was doing this week, and I guess I was watching the game itself, but flipping back and forth now between whatever one game is on, especially if the Dolphins aren't involved, and the NFL Red Zone, which is a good way to get a little bit of a picture of what's going on all around the league. And the way they jump around is fabulous. You start, it's better than having the NFL ticket, right? Is that still a thing where people get the NFL ticket? Because
yeah, people do, especially like you live in this market and you want to watch your team. So, I mean, it's a thing. People still get it. The Red Zone's actually amazing. It's just a lot. Like it's just like
Imagine, you know what? Because I was contemplating this move to Melbourne, right? Thinking, hey, this is the move. And by the way, highly recommended by my good friend who I saw last night, the great Albert Castiglia, who is featured on one of these posters here.
really
And he actually did one of those things that I love so much. Our friend Michelle had him playing in the backyard of her house for
nice.
a small gathering of people, and he was talking about his move to Melbourne. Precisely many of the reasons that I'm looking at, right? Where you're just getting hammered with fees and taxes and this and insurance, and then he says it's a piece of cake up there,
Nice.
absolutely fantastic to get out of town, and so yeah, there are alternatives. Although imagine going there and being in a market where you're getting the Jacksonville Jaguars as your main team.
Oh
Yeah, no
god.
more Dolphin games, right? I mean, they don't give a fuck about the Dolphins up there. They don't consider that their team. It's more Jacksonville. Subjected to watching Jacksonville games?
Yeah, it's a lot, especially
Imagine,
this
okay, we're not going to be able to show you the 49ers and the Ravens today, but we do have the Jaguars playing the Tennessee Titans.
year. That's rough.
Holy shit. I don't think I could take that, Lubie. I mean,
That's rough. I wish you luck.
of all the reasons, I thought the NFL ticket. I used to get it, thinking, okay, it'll be good, and it was useful in terms of being a broadcaster and having some kind of a feel for the other games.
Mhm.
But I found that almost routinely, all games were in commercial breaks at the same
At the
time.
same time, exactly. So you can't really bounce around. That's the thing that sucks about it is they play at the same time. So you have to sort of pick game.
Yeah, you'd see your game would go to a break or whatever game you were zeroed in on, and then you'd start clicking the channels. And of the other 6 games that were going on, 5 of them were also in breaks.
Yep.
And you'd end up on a game that you consider to be somewhat irrelevant, and now you're watching that for a few minutes, and you're thinking, "Why am I watching this shit?" And at 400 or whatever it was a year at the time, it just became prohibitive, and I eventually canceled it because I wasn't getting enough value out of it. And then they came up with the Red Zone, which is a freebie. I guess what you have to pay for that.
Yeah, if you get it free, that's amazing.
Well, I mean, I get it as part of whatever package I'm
yeah,
paying
yeah,
for.
that's so cool. The red zone's great. Whenever like every year, the first week you get it free, so I always watch it, and I love it. It allows you to see what's going on with all the games. It's just like hectic. It's like
Gives you an
nonstop.
idea of what's happening around the league, which is a nice thing, especially if you're going to be recommending that people bet their brains out on certain games. And it's always good. As I've told you many times, Luby, it's always good to watch a few games.
Mhm.
All right, we have other stuff going on, too. We had the baseball yesterday. Mets get a grand salami. And they end up Vientos, Mark Vientos, who's been a big factor for the Mets so far, and he hits a grand slam. It was enough to hold up. I got a little nervous for the Met fans out there when Edwin Diaz was warming up, but he came in, got the 4 guys that he needed to. We retired them all, and so that was great. 7-3 Mets over the Dodgers. In a series that looked like it was already hopeless after the 9-0 win by the Dodgers. Dodgers were on a roll. They had pitched 33 consecutive scoreless innings. And so they get tagged for what? They gave up a run in the first, I think, in this one. I didn't see the beginning of the game because I didn't realize it started so early.
Mhm.
Somebody sent me a text. A friend of mine says Mets are up 6-0. I said, I thought they were playing at like 7:30.
Yeah.
But it was like a 4 o'clock game. And so the Mets prevail there. So that's 1-1 now, going back to Citi Field in New York. So that became a very interesting development. And the Yankees prevail over the Guardians. Giancarlo Stanton, your favorite player, with a big home run. Man, he is zeroed in. He is locked in right now. Judge continues to struggle, although he hit the ball a little bit on the nose in the game last night. Just didn't come up with any hits. And so Stanton and Soto had home runs in the game. And you got a great game. Rodon, Yankee fans cry more than anybody, don't they?
Yes,
I don't know if they're all like that. I mean, our good buddy Joe Casale is a Yankee fan. His one thing is that, Aaron Boone sucks and has to go, and it's about time to get rid of Cashman, that he's had a long leash, 25-plus years as a general manager, and the last 15 or so. How do you fail when you've got the biggest payroll in baseball?
exactly.
Year after year, you're able to grab all of the high premium free agents. They got Garrett Cole. They got Soto when they needed him in a trade. They got everybody that you could possibly want, and he still hasn't been able to make it work to a championship level. But looking good last night, 5-2 over the Guardians. Rodon was outstanding. as he whiffed 9 guys in like 6 innings. So he's got 16 strikeouts, I think, in 2 playoff appearances, and is looking good. Today you have Cole against Bibby, not Henry Bibby, but Bibby, the pitcher for the Guardians, who has been effective in the postseason so far. So I don't know. Garrett Cole, you would have to think prohibitive odds, right? In this game, what do you have to do? You have to lay a lot of money if you want to bet the Yankees in this one. Lubie, quick look at that, and off the board, I guess
175. I'm saying Yankees laying 175 over.
175. Yeah. At that point, don't you have to take a shot with the Guardians and figure
Yeah.
maybe they can bounce back? That Cole, we've seen him
He's had his
vulnerable.
struggles. Yeah, he's had his
Yeah.
struggles.
A good outing last outing, but not necessarily invincible like he used to be. There was a time there a couple of years ago you'd pencil in Garrett Cole and say, "Oh, okay,
Mhm.
that's it."
Yep.
So the team has no shot. So that's going today. The Cats were in action yesterday. The Panthers now
Yeah.
2-2. They're 2 wins over the Boston Bruins. They had lost a couple in a row. Barkov supposedly not going to be out for a prolonged period of time, a couple of weeks, with the ever mysterious lack of quantifying lower body injury. That guy got pulverized and has been injured many, many times. Would you say Barkov? You can't say the guy's injury prone, can you? But he's been
He
hurt a
used to
lot.
be injured a
Ekblad
lot.
and Barkov. Is Ekblad still with the team? What happened with him?
Ekblad's the one that was hurt all the time. Barkov would get hurt, but it wasn't a constant. Ekblad's the one that's constantly hurt.
Yeah.
Barkov's actually been good the last couple of years about staying on the ice.
All right. So I was reading the hockey handicapper here.
Okay.
Flyers greasing skids for another Oilers loss.
Okay.
The Oilers, who are the favorites to win a Stanley Cup, and they got off to a horrible start last year. Remember, they fired a coach, and then after that, this guy Chuck Knobloch came in. What is his first name? It's not Chuck.
I think it's Mark.
I think it's Mark. I'm
His
going to go with
name
Mark.
is Mark.
Yeah. Anyway, so he comes in and turns the whole thing around, and then of course they came within one game of winning the Stanley Cup after rallying from a 3-0 deficit to the Panthers last year. Very dramatic stuff. They're off to an 0-3 start. They got hammered in their opening game by Winnipeg, 6-0. And then lost to 2 hockey lesser lights, 2 teams that'll be bottom feeders all year long, Chicago and Calgary. So they're off to an 0-3 start. They take on the Flyers tonight, and at prohibitive odds. So, Lubie, you're getting a nice price if you like the Flyers. Do you have the guts to bet against Edmonton at home and falling to 0-4 in defense of their Western Conference championship and near Stanley Cup title? Do they fall to 0-4, or do you just automatically concede that they're going to win this game and stay away from it? You're getting plus 185 with the feisty Flyers. Not a great team, but one of those teams that really knows how to frustrate the opposition. What do you think?
I feel like the Oilers, at some point, they're going to start
Well,
winning.
we know nothing about this, so we're talking.
I know the
about it.
Oilers.
Yeah.
We watched a lot of the Oilers.
No, the Oilers looked like they were primed to
Great.
just come right back and be in the finals again. No.
I mean, I do think, I don't know if they're the overwhelming favorite, I guess is what they are. I don't know if they are in reality, but they're definitely one of the teams that should be there at the end of the season. You can't go start 0-6. Like, I mean, once you're 0-3, it's time to start doing something. And I would feel like today would be the day. Like the Flyers.
All right. Yeah. They have they're a minus 12 goal differential in 3 games. They're getting shellacked.
Yeah, that's bad. Jesus.
Is it early in the season? I'm trying to figure out where do you have an edge in betting NHL games? This is how desperate it's gotten.
And yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't even know what to do with NHL.
I wouldn't either.
Herky jerky thing, night in, night out. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
well, I mean, like you said, I mean, is it like football where you're thinking, okay, these guys know that they start out 0-4, they don't put themselves in that deep of a hole in an 82 game season, but. And all you have to do is make the postseason. We know that in the NHL, because if you're the 8th seed, you're still very much alive, as opposed to some of the other sports where you're going to get shellacked by the number 1 seed. But we've seen that happen many times where the 8th seed has made a legitimate run. The Panthers were not that high of a seed last year, right? They just barely got into the postseason. Didn't they qualify on the last day?
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay.
They weren't remember, they were the number 1 seed most of the season, and then they fucked around the last.
Oh, okay. They dropped off
2 weeks. With like 3 weeks left, they fucked around, but then the last week they fixed it a little bit. They were like with the 3rd seed or the 4th. I don't know. They were ahead of the Bruins, but they weren't the 1. I think they were like the 2 or the 3 going into the playoffs last year.
All right. Well, we want to have you guys patronize some of our sponsors here. We got to get some messages in. We've been babbling here for 45 minutes or so. Let's do that. A quick break, and we'll come back because there's college football galore to talk about.
There is.
A couple of games I want to examine with you, Mike Lubie Lewis. So we'll do that in a moment here on the show as we come back in a moment. Now that was a lot of moments in that sentence, Lubie. It's 8:50. Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
Hear me. I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence! In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside so we can check. Furthermore, all children under 16 years old are now 16 years old.
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket?
Power has driven him mad.
Welcome back to The Defo Show.
Man, he was great last night. A lot of fun. Other musicians showed up. It was fantastic. Thank you very much, Michelle, for putting that together. Oh, by the way, too, you know who was there? Gail and Harry Kappas of
Nice.
Spottis.
Nice.
So Gail puts aside for me and has it already packaged up to take home. A large tuna sub with everything on it.
Nice.
Oh, my God. I took a bite of that this morning. Lubie.
Nice.
That is freaking great. Just absolutely fantastic. All right, college football. The big one is Texas and Georgia. Texas favored 3.5 points over the Georgia Bulldogs. And then also, I was reading this handicapping proposition about taking Clemson to win the college football championship at 20-1. Now, they got hammered by Georgia the opening week, 34-3. Everybody's writing Dabo off, saying, well, you also were theorizing, and maybe properly so, that, well, he's not getting the recruiting anymore. He doesn't do the transfer portal, and all of this Christ stuff is not working for him. So maybe he's lost a step or, a couple of miles an hour off his fastball. They've been killing people ever since. I mean, do they not look great? Clemson, if UM has Clemson on the schedule, they're not undefeated at this point.
Well, no, that's the thing is people keep putting you, and I get it, they're undefeated, but Clemson's also undefeated in the conference, and people keep putting UM as number one in the conference, and I'm like, oh, so you don't watch college football? Like, yeah. If you've watched, look, I hate Clemson, believe me, and I'm the one that I hate Dabo. I don't know if they're what they were, but they're better than they've been the last 3 years. I mean, I think they're arguably the best defense in the country, and now their offense is catching up to it. If you've watched the way the really good teams have played the last 2-3 weeks, outside of Texas, no one's played better than Clemson. And I'm sorry, UM fans and ACC enthusiasts that are trying to make UM this juggernaut, even though literally they've been gifted their last 2 victories. Clemson's playing better teams, and they're demolishing them. UM's playing the bottom of the fucking ACC. UM's playing the bottom of the country. And the last 3 weeks has struggled. The last 2 weeks literally should have lost. Last week, 2 weeks ago, Cal just flipped the script defensively the last quarter and gifted them a game, let alone that targeting. That was one of the worst calls I've ever seen, or lack of calls. Clemson's just pulverized.
Guy gets hit in the head with a sledgehammer by the defender.
Yeah,
I literally just took a sledgehammer and clubbed the guy over the head.
Fans or the way I don't know. I watched that play 30 to 40 times, and it looks clear that the guy's crown of his helmet hits the helmet. As a runner, you can hit.
And it's a quarterback on top of it.
Oh, no, look, when a guy's a runner, the rules change, right? Like that, what the fuck is it when like a defenseless receiver?
Yeah, understandable. I know what
you
you
can
mean.
hit a guy out from any fucking angle. If he's running and it's not, you can hit him as hard as you want. However, the crown of the helmet to the helmet launching is targeting no matter what the fuck you're doing, no matter who it is, like the punter, whatever it is. If your crown of the helmet hits a helmet, it's a targeting. And I've seen that. I saw that play from every angle known to man. I didn't see anything but a crown of the helmet hitting a helmet. Now, some Canes fans have said, well, he hit the shoulder first. I'm like, okay, I didn't see that. They zaprudered the fuck out of that goddamn thing. And it looked like crown of helmet to helmet. So anyways, UM's undefeated.
And maybe that rule is just defined incorrectly by calling it targeting, because targeting implies intent. And it seems like the rule is enforced how can you judge intent? That's impossible. So I'm with you on the fact that if the crown of the helmet hits the other guy in the helmet, it's a penalty for whatever. But
just because you could really hurt your.
We don't know that the guy went out of his way to like spear a guy in the head. But maybe that makes it debatable. I don't think it was. I mean, I watched it. I'm a Canes fan before I'm going to be rooting for California to beat them. Although, as we know, Lubie, for sports talk stimulation, it's always good to have a horrible loss, especially if you're, saying particularly unflattering things about Mario Cristobal as a game day coach. It's like, hey, look at that. He fucked it up against California, a team that lost FSU, for God's sake.
Honestly.
Right? So that answered the argument, but you couldn't not throw a flag on that. I don't care who it was. I'm with you. If it was the punter, if it was the backup long snapper, that was head-to-head contact, and
you just heard. Look, the reason they put that in was because of the injury stuff. They've taken it a little too seriously. Fine, they overcall it maybe, but that was the kind of thing that when you watch the hit live, you're like, oh fuck, like Bazant could have hurt himself and the quarterback could have got hurt. But whatever, fine. UM won. It's okay. UM's a good team. If you've watched UM play, if you watch Clemson play, like they look like
very scary compared to UM.
They just do. I mean, they do. So like,
you might take the 20-1. Win the championship, Clemson. 20-1 to win the college football championship.
Yeah. Outside of Texas, look, Georgia's
vulnerable this year.
I mean, Mississippi State is not good. Florida beat them by double digits, and they beat them by 10. Like that's a weird. They were favored by 33. Like when you look at Alabama, they lost. They followed a loss to Vandy, to what should have been a loss to South Carolina.
Alabama has come back to the pack after looking like they were great in beating Georgia, although in the second half of that Georgia game, they found themselves on the short end of the stick and needed a miracle play to salvage a victory out of what was a 28-0 lead.
Yep.
So that certainly aroused suspicion that maybe they were vulnerable and suspect also. I mean, I haven't seen enough of Texas to definitively say. Most people, I mean, it's not even debatable who the number one team is right now. And there's been juxtaposition at the top of the heap there. Georgia, not the dominant team that they've been in the last couple of years. So they're suspect also. But, Clemson 20-1. Not sure. It might be worth taking a small flyer on. No, Lubie, at this stage, I don't know. I would not bet UM to win the championship. Would you? It's part of their undefeated record.
They will have to play when I don't think it's an if. I think they'll find themselves in the ACC championship, even if they stumble here at some point. They won't have more than one ACC loss. So I don't see how they're not in the ACC championship. I don't see how Clemson's not either. Like whenever they
4-0 in the conference with a cupcake schedule the rest of the way.
Whenever they play Clemson, I presume Clemson will beat them soundly. I may be wrong. Cam Ward, and they have a good offense, and when he gets time and they let him do his thing, he's as good as any playmaker in the country at the quarterback position or any position. But everything I just said has to be true. What we've also seen, including Cal, if they pressure him, he either does nothing or makes really stupid decisions. So I tend to believe Clemson, whose defense has gotten after everyone, I don't know why they would suddenly not be able to get after So it just, when you look at these other teams that have played really well, like Texas is just beating the crap out of everyone they play. And then there's Clemson. Like it bothers me to say that because I can't stand fucking Dabo, but they're playing really good. Yeah, they're playing shit. Everyone's playing shit though. Oregon finally beat a good team in Ohio State. I don't know what to do with them, but outside of that, like no one's played juggernauts, and most teams have struggled against teams. So like I tell you, it's right now Texas and Clemson have played the best football. It pains me to say it, but like it's true. Like if you just watch
20-1, Lubie, that's a big fat number.
No, that's a nice number for a team that's playing really good. I mean, they're a top 10 team.
Maybe worth a shot.
I mean, I can't bet on Clemson, so I won't do it. But if
I can't root for them.
If you're a gambler, I mean, that's a good number for a team that has a legit look. The rest of the ACC sucks. They're going to blow through the rest of the ACC. Miami, as good as Miami is record wise, like on paper, I would think they beat them soundly. Okay, so then the playoffs, it's not like these teams have been amazing. Like the teams that are hanging around outside of Texas, every team has sort of struggled, like including Oregon, who should be number 2 right now. Like, I don't know.
Georgia and Alabama do not seem to be light years ahead of everybody else by any stretch of the imagination. So this guy, Tanner McGrath, makes a very eloquent case for Clemson at 20-1 to win the college football championship. Worth a flyer, at least, worth a sniff in his opinion. And sort of, as I said, very convincing argument. All right. So a final thing, Lubie, before we have to make our exit here. Where does that leave you with UM and Louisville? UM favored, I believe, by 3.5? No, by 4.
Louisville's coming off of 2 losses, so it's brought them back to earth where I really felt like this would be the game UM loses for sure. I don't know what to do with them because they themselves are coming off 2 really bad performances. I mean, not bad. Look, their offense was fine in both games, but overall, they should have lost to 2 teams that they're vastly superior to.
I would be so much chaos. I mean, that's Cristobal begins with a C and it stands for chaos.
That's my thing. Is and it's what we've said, right? Where you're like, he should be fired. I'm like, no, they'll win games this year. But again, if games are tight, they will be tight the whole goddamn time, right? Like he's still Cristobal, and that's what we've seen. The 2 games where teams came out, and I mean, even USF, they hung in there a long time. Like they shouldn't have hung in there that long. I would pick them to win. I would stay out of it though, because Louisville is good enough defensively to make things tough on Ward. And if you do that, that's how you stay in a game with UM.
All right. So you're saying
I would lay out of it, but I would
stay out of it. But you think UM's probably going to win?
They should win. Yeah, they should win.
All right. Well, they're favorites. So by the standard barometer that we would use, which is degenerate math. They should win, even on the road, by a narrow margin. We shall see. How many Joe Zagakis are we going to have to say to get them home in this one? I find myself just dobbing with Joe Zagacki, Joe Zagacki, Joe Zagacki, Joe Zagacki, Joe Zagacki. Please get these guys home here because I'd like to see something good happen for them. I still have a little, hurricane blood running through my system from all of those days that Tony Roma's doing Hurricane Hotline with a variety of coaches. Who I don't know who was the most fun to do. I guess Jimmy was always good because he was an excellent speaker. Butch was okay. He mostly spoke in cliches, but we've had Butch on
he's good.
Many times, and wow, he's a very entertaining interview. What is Butch doing now? Nothing. Butch Davis.
I'm not doing anything.
Not involved in football at all.
I haven't heard his name since the FIU debacle.
Yeah, been a long time. And then Dennis, I really like Dennis Erickson, but he seemed like he was a tortured genius to me, where he wasn't really comfortable, even in very favorable interview situations like Hurricane Hotline. Hey, Coach, you think we can beat FSU? I mean, it was all Hurricane fans sitting there in the audience, but he still seemed to feel, as we said. And once again, Andy, I refer to Andy. I picture Andy in a doctor's office as they snap on that rubber glove. I don't think that's his issue, though, where they're examining things in the rectal area. But, they do have to go inside somehow there, usually through a method. There's no favorable way to go ahead and work on something inside the body. Invasive, as they say. All right, we're going to be evasive here. We're going to get out of here. We didn't really answer any of your questions today, and we didn't address anything of any great importance, although I did like your political position, Lubie. And I'm hoping you're right about this with the phony polls or whatever.
It's not about phony. It's that you can skew. People don't data. you can skew polls as much as you can skew anything. Like if the polls are Republican leaning, if they go to like small cities in the Midwest, like they know what they're doing with these polls. And the other thing is people have been asking in the right.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask 50 people at Woodstock if they're in favor of Amendment 3, you're probably going to get 100%.
When was the last time you answered a poll? Never, right? The only way they do polls now is by phone, and no one answers their phone, or by text or email, and it comes as scam, right? Okay, so if you're not answering, who's answering them? You know who's answering? Old white people, because they're bored and they answer everything. Okay, well, where do old white people skew? So that's my problem is, look, I'm not, you can believe the polls if that gives you the sense of motivation.
I used to believe them. I did.
They were very true until the last like 10, 15 years. And they've said the way that they do polls now, because of digital and how lazy people are, they're wildly inaccurate. They just, and a lot
it would seem easier though. I mean, if you don't have to actually physically do anything except click on, hey, Harris or Trump, you would think it would be simple. I've never answered a poll. You're right. I've never been polled.
No one ever
I've never been asked to answer a poll.
No, I get asked all the time.
It's kind of like the radio ratings. I mean, once in a while I would get a diary and I would just put our station, right through it, and that was enough to influence the ratings by a significant enough margin that it would make a difference in terms of your ability to sell advertising and stuff. One book would make a difference. It's not that way with these polls, but like you say, very small sample. I want to believe that Harris is going to romp in this thing because you're literally, I mean, when is Trump? Is he going to show up like a week before the election with a swastika tattooed on his forehead? Is that?
I don't know. He's not. That's my problem for people that are like, it's tightening. I'm like, nothing's changed good for him.
No.
Why would he get? He's gotten crazier. He's leaning into saying
that's what people want.
He's leaning, but that's not what. That's what his people want. But they were already voting for him. They've been clear that he won't win with his people. He just lost an election with his people. The only way he wins is getting the independents, the undecideds, which no one's undecided by now.
Who could be undecided in this?
No one's undecided. That's a lie. It's independents. Getting the independents is how he wins. The independents have made it clear they don't want the crazy. They've made it clear they don't want the crazy. Yeah. So suddenly, 3 weeks before the election, he's gotten crazier. He's gotten more demented, and he's leaning into the Project 2025 stuff that he was fighting for months.
Yeah.
And that's when they changed. I'm like, it's okay to use logic. I know we're all scared of him being president. That's fine.
I think it's over if he becomes president.
Yes, really do. Him being president, we don't exist as America anymore. He's made it clear, and anyone who doesn't believe him, you're stupid as fuck.
Venezuela would be a more liberal country.
100%.
All right, we got to get out of here, Lubie. It was a lot of fun today. Had a good time. Thanks very much. Be at Even Keel Fish Shack Los Olas later on today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. How was your Southport Raw real quick?
It was good.
Good, yeah.
My buddy, one of the owners, is really fun, and 50 years for any place in South Florida, it's ridiculous. So good for them.
Absolutely. All right, thanks, Lubie. Always a pleasure, my friend. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll have Tony Segreto going old school, and we will come to you at 8 o'clock in the morning, hopefully right on time tomorrow here with the Defo Show. See you at 1 o'clock. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox on South Florida Live. Let's Eat South Florida Facebook page. Subscribe to that. A lot of people do, 170,000. So that's a good thing. You get a lot of good info on restaurants, where to go. Follow the majority. The majority rules. Don't let one sicko who got whacked for a 3% credit card charge dissuade you from going to a great restaurant. All right, we'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:09.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.